So when I moved here in 1993, there's a bunch of stuff I really wish I would have known. But being in my mid-20s and being very impulsive and just like, I'm moving to Florida, no plan, no nothing. My fallback, I did have one plan. It was, if it didn't work out, I can always move home. And here I am over 30 years later, still here. So obviously it worked out. But I do get a lot of people that move here and they'll ask me questions, or maybe later they're like, oh geez, I really wish I would have known that. So that's what this video is about. If you're thinking of moving to Florida, these are some things you just might want to know. Even if you think you know everything, stay tuned, let's get going. So right off the gate is we do have extreme weather and natural disasters that happen in Florida. When I was moving here, I was like in my mid-20s. And I know there's a lot of very smart, intelligent 20-year-olds. I was, again, more the, let's go have some fun. And I knew Florida was no more yucky winters, no more blizzards, no more storms. California has earthquakes, and that scared the heck out of me. And all I knew is Florida had a lot of sunshine. It was called the Sunshine State, and warm weather, and I was all about that. So I was very, very happy. But yeah, I did not realize that hurricanes were a big thing here and tropical storms. However, a lot of this depends on where you live. People get here and they're deciding if they want to move to Florida or somewhere else, and they'll ask me about the weather and the hurricanes they keep hearing about. Well, a lot depends on where they plan on living. Are you planning on living in Miami, where it tends to get hit a lot more, or Central Florida, where, again, I lived here since 1993, and we've never been really hit with anything that was a catastrophe. I mean, we did have Hurricane Ian that came through, and there was almost some flooding. Some areas, not almost, I'm sorry, some areas did have flooding, and what happened was they had to be boat rescued. And I was actually stuck in my house with no power for a few days because I was thinking wrong again. It was coming in from the West Coast, so I was like, oh, by the time it goes across the state and hits us over here on the East Coast, it'll die out. Boy, was I wrong. I was trapped in my house for about a week with no electric too, which really made it hard because it starts getting really hot and humid after a storm comes through. I had my Tesla charged up at the time, and I was basically living in there watching Netflix and enjoying the AC. And then another thing that kept happening. So the water was really close to our homes, which did not flood. But then you get these big trucks after the storm passed. They'll go flying down your street and make waves. So for the love of goodness, if you have one of those trucks, no one's impressed you can drive through it and fast. Woohoo, you know how to hit a gas pedal. You're making waves and now it's flooding people's homes. Please don't tell me you're that ignorant or rude. You want to be impressive? Stop and ask people if they need help. Is there anything you can go get them? Maybe they've been without food for a few days or eating a can of beans or whatever we're surviving on. Anyways, rant over. But like I said, it depends on places where you live. Hurricane Ian was the worst one I've ever experienced because I chose to stay and not leave. Will I do that again? No. A lot of people stay the whole time. They're like fine. They have a generator. They have family and friends surrounding them. And they're perfectly fine staying if they have to live without power for a week. Another thing you might want to know, which has changed a lot since obviously 1993, is the high cost of living. It is more expensive than ever to live in Florida right now with the rising cost of insurance, taxes, and condos are a big plus here in Florida because we have a lot of retirees. Well, with the new state mandated laws, with the SERS report, condo fees and the special assessments are going up as well. So if you're considering a move to Florida, you might want to really check out where you're living, especially if you're going to live along the coastline or down south. It just tends to be more expensive. Is there still affordable prices? You bet. Yeah, 100%. If you want to know where some of those are, I can help you out. I usually mention several of them in my videos, but if you're on a particular situation, type of loan or budget or time frame, go ahead, reach out to me and I can get you into some affordable options still. If you're looking to buy, I can definitely help you. And then of course, due to the hurricanes and everything that have come through and the tropical storms, insurance costs have gone up quite a bit. And many insurance companies have pulled out of the state, which then makes it a lot higher. Some are starting to come back. you know what, let's just think about it. Everything ebbs and flows. It always goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. Things will get better again. Overall, Florida is a great state to live in. And if you're looking to move also right now, it is a buyer's market. There are properties that are sitting on the market quite a long time, way over it should be. And their sellers desperate to sell. You can go in and get a great offer. Again, reach out to me, anything I can do to help you with that. Another thing you might want to know is the overcrowding and traffic. So with Florida being so desirable over all these years, I don't know, there's been predictions, different ranges, like 900 people a day move here. I've heard more, I've heard less. And again, of course, it depends on the economy, what's going on at the time. But it can become overcrowded at times, again, depending what city you're living in. The more popular ones that are normally more expensive are usually more crowded. Miami's beautiful. I get it. I know why people like to live there. I personally find the overcrowding, the traffic congestion, and it's just so much hotter down there. I have a couple that came up from Miami just the other day. They're looking to grow their family. They need some more room, and they absolutely know they cannot do it in Miami. So they came up to Daytona. I showed them some very affordable options where they get so much more home for their money. And that's just a big difference. I don't mean to keep trashing Miami. I mean, you do your own research, you do you. It's just personally, obviously not where I want to live, or I would have moved there by now. It's a great place to visit, very pretty. I could just never imagine at my age trying to make a living. I mean, not trying to make a living, just to live there. I get so stressed, especially with traffic. Another thing is when you're in an overcrowded, overpopulated area is the health care. There's a lot of seniors, a lot of people that need to regularly go to the hospital, emergency room. There's more accidents and stuff, which in turn then makes your wait time much more longer, can be a lot more frustrating. And sometimes, you know, the doctors can drive up costs. I mean, they're out to make a business as well, right? So just something you might want to consider if you're moving to Florida, where you're going to pick to move. Is it overcrowded? Is there tons of traffic? Or doesn't that bother you? If it doesn't bother you, that's fine. I know a lot of people in 2020, when people were moving here in groves, they didn't care. They're just like, we'll live anywhere. I work from home. Which brings me to the next topic you might want to consider is the job market can be a challenge. And again, going back to 2020, when people were just moving here in groves, it was mainly the remote workers that all of a sudden were allowed to work remotely due to COVID. And then they became permanent positions. So it doesn't matter. They're like, I can live anywhere. And we just had, oh my gosh, so many people moving here in 2020. But if you are at a job where you need to it's not remote and you need to find a job here, you might want to consider where you're moving. Unfortunately, Daytona is more of a hospitality type place. There are jobs, there's office jobs, bartending, waitresses, you know, there's tons of jobs like that. So if you're comfortable making an income at that level, it could be perfect for you. But if you need something a little more, you have a degree or some more experience, other than we have some great hospitals here, you know, Orlando or Miami now may be a great choice for you. So definitely check out the job market. It can be really unstable depending on the area you're living in or wanting to live in. Okay, on to environmental concerns, something you just might want to know about. So if you are considering purchasing something along the coastline, which is constantly eroding away, is a concern. I don't know, will that beach even be there in 30 years? Maybe you're a young couple, you're buying in, you want to just, you know, make it a great investment. You might want to check out if that beach is going to even be there in 20, 30 years. If it starts disappearing, it becomes a problem. Now you're stuck with it because everybody else knows they're not going to want to purchase it. I hear all the time, I go to these city meetings and they talk about how the beaches are eroding away. I got that number from somebody at a meeting. They predicting in 30 years. Will it happen? I don't know. Who knows? I mean, they put these seawalls up to help prevent them, but hurricanes like to come through sometimes and take them down. So just think of these little things when you're purchasing. That's why your property, wherever it is. That's why I was originally looking for a condo directly on the beach. I wanted to come downstairs and I wanted to be like, I want the sand in my toes. Well, then Ian came through, took out so many pools, so many seawalls, came right up to some condos. I'm like, I think I'll move across the street, which is still a beautiful location. And according to what's going on, I may be oceanfront in a few years anyways. Another thing to consider is our wildlife. For example, we have, as I talk about a lot on this channel, we have alligators and anacondas. We also have some crazy spiders. I was talking to one of the maintenance men in my building not too long ago. He was out because he had to go to the emergency room. And when he got back, because I'm like, hey, where you been? And he had to recover because I think it's called a brown recluse spider. Some spider basically, while he was at working in a, dark area, wherever spiders hang out, and the spider dropped into his shirt, so he didn't know about it. And then it bit him. But not only did it bite him, he said it left a huge, that's so gross, pile of eggs in him. So if he wouldn't have gone to the emergency room to have them cut out of him, which left a huge gaping hole, he could have possibly died because all these spiders now would have been in their system once they would have hatched. So I'm like, I'm so freaked out every time a spider or something. But just, it's not a daily occurrence. And again, I've been living here for so very long. I have never had that happen. But, oh my gosh, it's just some crazy wildlife here. Okay, and the healthcare accessibility, I kind of touched on that earlier when I was talking about overcrowding and all that, is there may be limited access because, again, it's a retirement state. And a lot of retirees obviously go to healthcare more than, say, a younger couple or family. So it's just something to consider. Just pick an area, maybe where it's less dense. And if you like the big city life, go ahead and go visit there. That's what I ended up doing accidentally because I never make a plan, especially when I was younger. But I absolutely love living in the greater Daytona Beach area. A few times I have needed health care. Thankfully, I'm very blessed. Then I really didn't have much of an issue. But I do hear my friends down south or all over in the bigger cities saying it's definitely a hardship. Oftentimes, just sitting there for hours or like a whole work day. One of them told me they're 8 hours and they finally had to leave. They just couldn't get in. So it's just something to think about also. We also have cultural differences. So that's just something you might want to keep in mind. I am perfectly fine. But, those birds just startled me. Anyways, I'm perfectly fine. It's just you want to respect other people's values, and it could be a little learning lesson. It's nothing horrible, but it's just something to consider. We also get an influx of snowbirds coming here, especially in the winter months. Especially January, February, March is really heavy with a lot of snowbirds. And with that, it's basically a melting pot here in Florida. We have all different kinds. So you just learn and look for the good in it. I always love the different, there's a crab crossing. I always love the different things I do learn about different people's cultures. And sometimes the food is amazing. I'm a big foodie. I love different foods. But I just wanted you aware there is, if you aren't already aware, there's a mixed melting pot here. Okay, on to be aware of, there could be some legal issues, government issues. Our taxes are, what I'm told, a little different, especially when you go to a closing. They're a little confusing, but the title companies are very, very good at explaining this after all these years, so not to worry. Plus we have the Save Our Homes, which puts a cap on how much your taxes can go up every year. That's really nice, but it is something to consider. So I've had people didn't buy with me, they bought something else, and they seen what the current homeowner was paying in taxes, and they thought they were going to pay that. Wrong. That owner had lived in there 30 years. There was a cap. It's a real eye-opener. So just something to be aware of when you come here and you're going to purchase a home and you think you're getting what they paid. Also keep that in mind with new builds because they're basing the tax off the dirt, not the house. And normally they will tell you that at the closing as well, but just something to consider. And then Florida's a big HOA state. There's places you can purchase a home without an HOA, but there's tons. The odds of you getting into an HOA, there's quite a few places with HOAs. Some are bad. Some are like, I don't know, like $80 a year, because it's going to cover the entrance sign and maybe the common area grass. And that's not bad. So there's probably really no one enforcing rules, or, you know, maybe it's just the city rules you have to live by. But if you get into a place, obviously stricter HOAs, don't try and fight them. Man, they got this stuff covered. Because when you signed up, you agreed to these rules, and that's what they're going to hold you to. So just keep that in mind. I don't think HOAs are bad. It depends on what you want to do. I mean, if you have a business truck, you might not be able to park it in your driveway. So maybe you don't want an HOA. Or you get one of those HOAs where it's super low and it's just covering the common areas, and a business truck is fine. That's where a good agent will help you determine where you can live and what you need, and if an HOA is still okay. Or if you just definitely don't want an HOA, then we got those too. But it is a big HOA state. Just wanted to let you know. HOA, Homeowners Association. So of course, if you're moving here with kids, family, or planning on growing a family, our education system, you definitely want to check into. As real estate agents, we're not allowed to, hey, this is the best school system ever, you need to live here. It's called steering. It's super easy to look up our school systems. Of course, if you ask me what school my kids went to, I did the research, and I can, you know, I think they're amazing schools, but they have everything online. It's very clear. I trust what they're saying from what I understand. As far as the school system, again, you just want to, it's a concern. I mean, you don't want to have to, you know, send your kid to a horrible school. I mean, you got to give them a fighting chance, right? But I do believe now there is a new law, since my kids were little, that you can drive them, but the bus isn't going to pick you up or pick the kids up if it's out of the, but you're more than welcome to drive them there. So just something to consider. If you just absolutely love the house, don't like the school that the zone for where the bus would take your child to, and you have flexible work hours, and go ahead, move there and drive the child to the school yourself. But just check out the school systems. We have amazing schools, like amazing. My daughter is a doctor now. She went to University of Miami, then UC Berkeley, and she's doing great. My son's doing wonderful too, and I think it's the school systems. I mean, we have some great ones, just like any state. Good and bad schools. Just definitely check them out. Okay, social and political climate. With Florida's diverse population, it can lead to a polarized political and social environment. Again, just something to consider. I'm not going to talk or discuss it on here. I would love to hear what you have to say, because I can't discuss it, but I would love to. I'd love to see some comments on what your views are about it here in Florida. So this video is all about the potential pitfalls of moving to Florida. I really hope you found it helpful and valuable. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Here, if you stay to the end, check out all these crabs I was walking through. So when you see me glancing down, I was praying they were all moving. Can you see them? Florida life. Gotta love it. Slow one. Yeesh. Okay.